Hey, we're back. So we were thinking about how it's almost like your kids are the cardinality, right? Whereas like your grandparents are the mutable and your trash is the fixity, basically.
Right.
That's how I could think about it. Because basically your cardinal, your kids, you're always going to be thinking about them, we could say, right? Unless you're like kind of really fucked up, I feel like, and on the edge, you're just going to be like mad having kids and not giving a shit, you know? In which case, you're so lost, you're probably not even watching my videos, you know?
Yeah.
So like basically now, then, with the fixed, what we're always dealing with circumstance, our trash, if we don't have a way to deal with our plumbing, the things we have to work it with in the world, you know, we're never going to succeed in that way, right?
Right.
But then when it comes to like our grandparents or like death, like how we treat that, I feel like is really more so faith and more so spiritual, right?
Right.
Like, because it's almost like then we get into things where reason doesn't really matter, because you're like, oh, I'm working to pay all the bills so that I can be healthy, so that I can live. But then it's like at a certain point you're like, oh, I'm working to pay all the bills so that like grandma like can die comfortably, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like to the point where she's not necessarily like living anymore, and like every time you tell her things, you're kind of like repeating, and it's almost like
it doesn't connect.
well, it's not that it doesn't connect, because you're still there. It's just that she only has a way to receive or a way
Right.
to express, so it's
Yeah.
never going to be dynamic anymore.
Right.
But
yeah.
it's not that, because it's if you weren't there, grandma would be way more irritated, grandpa would be way more irritated.
Right.
You know what I mean? But yeah, so but basically I think that, I guess what I've been thinking about is how all these things sort of connect to our faith within these things. So like our faith in general, I feel like, connects more so to death and things beyond. So it's like the person that has patience and doesn't get upset every time grandma wants to hear like, I love you, you know what I mean?
Right.
Even though she doesn't feel like she was loved 5 minutes later, you know what I mean, is the person that's going to have more faith. And then here's the way to think about it too, wise, because they're imbuing this energy of getting behind, so meaning saying I love you, what, all the time. So they're literally creating in thought a constant state of love. So they think grandma's just being irritated, but metaphysically, grandma literally created you a rune, like a mind rune of love. Like you'll remember that truly afterwards, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and all these things are just things that are going to be like irritating and feel pointless, but every single way that we learn to truly make that leaving experience actually comfortable, it's going to be like one of the hardest things, I feel like. But I almost think that that's where we'll start to imbue in our lives actually like kind of like loving things, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's almost like I don't know, because it's almost like you can feel like you're like getting somewhere. You have this sort of selfish reason, I guess, even though like kids are way beyond us, for like raising your kids. Like there's so much engagement, like entertainment. You also like have to, right? But it's
Yeah.
almost like nowadays you don't even have to be there for like your grandparents or your parent, you know what I mean?
Right.
You don't even have to do any of these things, but
Yeah,
it's
you can
almost
tuck
like,
them away.
right? But it's almost like if you do, what that's going to cause you to do internally is create so much more love and actually beauty, and figuring out how to create beauty, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
But it's just like, I guess, been interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, Bublynn, Sitra, Beach out.